So, Fitz, very nice having you here.
Thank you, Albert from Amsterdam. I love your city, such a beautiful place.
Thank you, thank you. And where are you?
I am in Gainesville, Florida, in the States.
Oh, Florida. It should be morning right now for you, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Good morning then. Well, I
Yep.
wish you a great day ahead. Fitz, I checked out your story and your website, Fitzness. It's really incredible. It has like awesome content. I really encourage everyone to check it. And your story is just like unbelievable. Your comeback. Uh, can you tell us a little bit more about you?
Yeah, so I'm a fitness expert and an athlete who walks the walk. I've spent my whole life helping other people live better and longer, making fitness understandable, attainable, and fun. I do corporate keynote presentations around the world. I am a race announcer, an author, yada, yada. Health and exercise is my thing. And then in 2019, 7 weeks after a crystal clear mammogram, I was at a race weekend to run a race and I found a lump. And within a week, I had had all sorts of exams and biopsies. And I had that phone call from a surgeon that said, "I'm so sorry, Fitz, but you have breast cancer. It's very aggressive. It's running through you like wildfire. And we need to treat you immediately and aggressively." And so that set me off on 15 months of chemotherapy, which was awful. I mean, imagine living with a tequila hangover every day. It was pretty brutal. And then I had a bunch of radiation and surgery in between. And, so I'm one of many people who have had cancer and will have cancer, and it's rampant. We all know somebody. But my story twists and turns because I made decisions. I made really good decisions for myself that not enough people are making. I mean, of course you do you, but I chose to keep going. I chose, okay, fine, I'm going to be bald. Fine, I'm going to be sick, but I'm still working. I'm still getting on all those planes. I'm going to go announce my races. I'm going to do my talks. I'm not going to let my bald head stop me. I never wore a wig. This is who I am. And I would show up at a place super sick. But the magic was whenever I got onto my stages with my people, the thing that I love the most, which were being on those stages with those people, it cured me for the moment. I wasn't sick. I wasn't tired. I had all the energy in the world and I felt good and I got to do my job and be full force Fitz Koehler. So, if I had stayed home and hid out and just been sick the whole time, I wouldn't have had those wonderful moments and those wonderful experiences. And so I know some cancer patients, maybe someone's in the hospital right now, they're hooked up to machine saying, "To heck with you, if it's Koehler, I can't go." And I get that. I get that. It's about doing the best you can when you can, controlling the things. So even though you feel like crap, if you can get up and go to work, trust me, you're going to have a lovely experience at work you are happy to have had, or maybe you can go to a party with your friends. And I learned a bunch through that. And then, of course, the health and fitness side of cancer is so powerful. And I've spent a lot of time helping others, weaponize exercise and nutrition to help them reach remission and also prevent recurrence. And of course, I believe in Western medicine. I'm grateful chemo and radiation and so forth saved my life, but there are things we can do. So if I can empower people to do, take responsibility for the things they can control, we can go a long way.
Yeah, that's really interesting and very courageous of you, actually, this reaction. But I'm especially interested or curious on how did you deal with that at first? Was that like your just first reaction? What were the stages that you went through?
Yeah, so terror. I definitely thought I was dying. I mean, the fact that I had this tumor and it already spread so quickly, I believed I was definitely dying, and I was so sad. And I was sad about dying, but I was mostly sad about losing my children's lives. The fact that I wouldn't be able to watch Ginger and Parker grow up and be there to support them and love them was just gut wrenching. So it's a weird thing. And I would say most parents probably feel the same as, once you have this human, then you fall in love. Your greatest fear on earth is losing them. And so if one of them passed, that would devastate me. But my own passing was another way of losing them. That was so hard and I was so scared. And then probably within a week or so, I met with an oncologist who said, no, Fitz, we can cure you. We believe we can cure you. You're just going to have to endure the cure. And so I still was scared. I mean, chemo was scary. Right? Everything's made me cry. I'm a total medical wimp while I'm a toughie in the rest of the world. When it comes to needles and blood draws and surgery, I would cry, but I would talk to myself. I was constantly in my head reminding myself that I could do hard things. You know, I would say, you've built a global business and you've raised 2 great kids and you used to be a full contact kickboxer. You're tough stuff, Fitz Koehler. You got this. And yes, I refer to myself in the third person because I had to talk to myself. I was in there cheering for me and I had to. And you know, what's interesting, Albert, is for so many of us are fortunate to have support, right? Support of a partner or a family or friends. But the reality is with cancer and like so many other things, even though people were supporting me, I had to take all the needle pokes myself. I had to take all of the chemotherapy myself. Nobody could take some of that off of my plate. And so I felt grateful to be loved and supported, but I had to be my number one cheerleader because I had to sit down to be, you know, accosted by these medical professionals trying to save me. So that ability to train yourself, to coach yourself up instead of tear yourself down. And, you know, I know your audience is a bit younger. That's a great habit to learn right away. Instead of saying, you can't, you're terrible at this, give up. It's much better to be inside your own head saying, you know what, you're pretty smart, you're pretty fierce, you're going to figure this out, keep going. And that really was helpful to me.
Yeah, this is very helpful, definitely. And you mentioned that your kids gave you like motivation to keep going, right? And but you mentioned that the most important thing is in your head. And I'm curious, how long did it take you? Because I bet it's not easy to reach this state. And how long did it take you to train, let's say, your mind and make this huge comeback?
Well, as far as the mental game, I think I've been working on it since I was a kid, involuntarily. And when I was in grade school, my teenage years, I would try out for an athletic team. I got cut from a few, broke my heart. I tried to be like student council president, you know, one of the leaders within this class, and I wasn't elected. You know, there was constantly little failures throughout my life. And my mom would say, it's okay, it's building character. It feels bad today, but this will pay off down the road. And I would say, I have enough character. I just want to do these things I want to do. And, you know, those failures in business, failures with friendships, all of those things make us better. Now, none of us wants to go through these hard times, but they make you more resilient. They steady you. And so, yeah, my lifetime of failures, I've had so many successes as well, but my lifetime of failures prepared me to deal with this stuff. And I was good at failing. And I don't necessarily think I failed when I got cancer, but it wasn't a win, right? So you have to decide, right, how am I going to cope with this? How am I going to deal with this? So I allowed myself to cry when I had to, you know, probably every day, but I would go alone in my bathroom and I would cry, or I would sit in my car and I would cry it out, because it was a constant slew of things going wrong. Every day something new went wrong. And that's a year and a half of my fingernails ripping off and my eyelashes coming out, and the sickness. It was hard. It was really hard. And I am very human. So sometimes people hear me talk when I'm coaching them up and they think, oh, she's superhuman, I can't do stuff like that. I was just very, very sick. And I was often very tired and I often cried. But what I would do is I would get the tears out and then I would say, all right, on with it. And I would go and I would be a great mom, or I would work, or maybe I would just go to bed and have a nap, right? But it's okay to get it out. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be real. It's not okay to bask in grief. It's not okay to bask in sadness. And so I was able to balance those things.
Yeah, very good point. You mentioned that you're a human, because yeah, I mean, when I was checking your content and your website, I was like, this woman is like superwoman. She is superhuman. How could she do that? But yeah, it's very like heartfelt to know the downsides as well. and the setbacks. But you mentioned that you were crying alone. Like, why would you prefer that? Many people would actually do the opposite, and they will like open up, go to loved ones, get
Yeah.
support. Like, why did you choose this?
Yeah, I mean, just very much my own thing is number one, I didn't want to burden my children. You know, they were 13 and 15, and it was sad enough. It was bad enough that they had to see mom sick, bald. They could see me wasting away. I lost a lot of weight, and it was scary enough for them. I didn't want to increase their hardship by crying to them and saying, everything's wrong with me. I'm so sad. I'm so scared. I just didn't think that was fair to do to my children. But I recoil to pity. And so, you know, even though the public at large, you know, my running community or my fitness fans or whatever, they knew I was sick, I never publicly at the time said, things are so bad and I'm so scared and I'm so sad. Or I just didn't want to burden them. My business is about health and happiness. So confiding in the world over my hardships as I was going through them, I didn't think was going to benefit them. And the fact that someone might look at me and go, oh, I'm so sorry. Like those feelings, even though they cared for me, that head tilt makes me feel really uncomfortable, right? I feel like, oh, I'm so weak. Which is probably a bad attitude, but it was better for me that people saw me stand up. It was impossible for them not to notice that I was sick, right? And even just my face, there was not enough makeup in the world to make me look like a not sick person, right? And of course, the head and the weight loss, people were identifying that. But if I could show up with a smile and have a happy conversation, just felt better to me. And then on occasion, there were some friends, and I did cry on some shoulders because it just came out. I couldn't control it. But, you know, we all have to figure out how to cope with those things as well as we can, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think like cancer is just the peak of like the challenge for a human being, because it's like exhausting mentally and physically. So you are fighting on two fronts. Exactly.
Yeah,
But
and I just want to also put it out there that the way I handle things is not the way everybody should handle things. These are things that were meaningful to me, and I decided to protect myself. You know, not telling everybody when they would say, "How are you?" and I'd say, "I'm doing just fine." That wasn't me protecting them. That was me protecting me from their pity. I just didn't want it to blow up. So, you know, sometimes if someone, you know, some people might have felt like, oh, I really want to tell them how bad I'm doing and that don't feel good. But, you know, I'm the opposite side of things.
yeah, I'm sure not many people will agree with you, because some some will find it empowering or support. Like some will find support really essential part. So I'm curious about like the other, like, since you dropped this card, let's say,
Yeah.
what other cards did you have? Like, what is in your toolbox that helped you fight this situation and overcome it?
Oof. Well, definitely the exercise and nutrition. And I knew I wasn't going to be the girl I was the day of diagnosis. That girl was running a race. She was so fit and so forth. But I continuously made choices to benefit myself. So I know that healthy food helps. And it's interesting when someone gets a cold, for example, just a regular cold, they instantly start seeking out vitamin C. They're going to eat some oranges or pop a vitamin C tablet or whatever, because we know that nutrition is really powerful. Well, okay, let's multiply that. You have cancer. It's probably even more so, more important to look to nutrition when you have cancer versus a cold. And it's not only about making yourself more likely to reach a cure, but if you can boost your immune system through nutrition, you're less likely to have infections anytime someone pokes a needle through your chest or in your arm or cuts you during surgery. So those things were powerful tools for me. And then I did whatever exercise I could. So I was so sick, I was very sick. I wasn't able to run through most of my treatment, but if I could walk, I did. I did whatever strength training I could. When I was lying in bed, I had many days that were stuck in bed days. I would do leg lifts. I would stretch my shoulders, you know, because if you do nothing, you lose more muscle mass, you lose strength, you lose mobility, flexibility, stamina, balance. And I wasn't willing to just give it up. So I realized that, okay, today's a day in bed, especially I'd fly home from announcing a big race or speaking, and that was exhausting too. So I was jet lagged and doing cancer care. So I would just be in bed, stretching my back, or every single time I would take a shower. Jerry Seinfeld is my favorite comedian. I don't know if you know Jerry, but he makes me laugh. So that was for my mental health. I would put him on my phone somewhere on the little thing. And so I could listen to Jerry Seinfeld. And then when I got in the shower, I would stretch under the water. I would do things to enhance my body. So those actions really benefited my case, because even while doing those, cancer beat me up. If I had not pursued healthy food or exercise in whatever level I could, I can't imagine how sickly or how weak I would have become. It just would have been really bad. So yeah, those were tools.
Yeah, it's very helpful to know about that. And on the other hand, I'm sure there were like, on the other hand, there are challenges, right? There are things that definitely step in the way of your recovery. And especially I'm talking about mental barriers or moments, some bad moments that will set you back. Can you talk maybe also about that, and how do you deal with it?
Mental setbacks. That's funny. I mean, the whole thing was just so hard, so hard. Some of the setbacks, I would say, were constant. And many of them were things I didn't know about. So when you're diagnosed with cancer, most people think bald, right? Most people think sick. And yes, those things were very, very hard. But I remember going to open a drawer, and then one of my fingernails like pulled up, and I thought, oh, that's crazy. Ouch. And then later in the day, I touched something else and another fingernail ripped off. And I thought, and it's such a painful experience, whether you got cancer or not. If your fingernail rips off, it's a bad time. And I wasn't warned that the drugs I was taking would also affect my fingernails, my toenails. And so every time they ripped off, it was just like, why, God, everything's going wrong. And it was a new type of insult, right? It was a new and different type of insult. And they were just constant. They were constant. I would have people come up and say things like, oh, my aunt died of breast cancer. And I'd say, thank you. Can you imagine going up to someone with a potentially lethal disease and then reminding them that, yeah, lethal to my friend? Of course, I'm sturdy, but I would think, well, that's not uplifting. And you would definitely make someone who wasn't as sturdy as I am cry. Oh, this was the best. This is a good one. I go into the cancer center. I used to have to do IV fluids every day because I was very dehydrated from the sickness. So it was constantly in and out. And I went into this cancer center, and there's a coffee shop up front. And I think I was going to buy a bottle of water or something like that. And so I'm just looking at their little selection of snacks and drinks. And the guy behind the counter, he looks at me, he goes, "Hey, buddy, what can I get you?" And then he goes, "Oh, you're a ma'am. I'm so sorry." And I just, I couldn't laugh. I just burst into tears. And I like to look like a girl. I am a woman. I am so very much a woman. But the fact that on that day, I look like a guy was really rough. And so instead of composing myself and ordering the drink, I ran off like a girl, and I went to the front desk to check in, and there was this woman named Sherry. She was the front desk sign-in lady, and she said, "Oh my goodness, what's going wrong?" And I said, "Thought I was a man." And she was like, "No, you're beautiful." And I was like, "No, I look like a boy." I mean, I just did. It was a hard day, and I knew I looked like a train wreck, but that was tough. And so after that, I never left the house without lipstick again. I would put on bright, hot berry lipstick, and that sweet woman. This was the bright side. So for every hardship, usually there was some wonderful silver lining. And so every single time I would check in, that woman, Sherry, would say, "Hey, beautiful. Hey, gorgeous. Hey, hey, pretty girl." She never, ever let up. She was always trying to be there to support me and make me feel better. So even though the cancer was making me feel bad. The kind words from her and others were really uplifting. And I just, you know what, I just decided this is not who I am. I mean, I look this way, but it doesn't affect my heart, my intellect, my ability to relay information on fitness and so forth. I'm still a great mom. So I would continue to remind myself of my value, even though I didn't look the way I wanted to look and I didn't feel the way I wanted to feel, but I still had my special role in the world. And it was, again, that ability to coach myself up got me through a lot of hard times.
Yeah, coaching yourself. It's like you definitely have an exceptional resilience and mental toughness. But my question to you, which the other audience might be interested in, do you think this resilience and mental toughness is something we are born with, or it's something like a muscle that we could train? And what's your thought on that?
You know what? It's funny. As some people ask me about my personality, I'm like, were you born with that sunny disposition? And I was. But I also think you can learn to see the bright side and be a happier person. I don't think you're born with resilience. I think you earn that along the way. And so even today, when I face rejection, I still tell me, okay, well, that's going to make something in the future so much better. So for everyone going through hard times or being told no or having a romantic crisis, the things that make you feel sad, eventually those things will, steel you up, make you stronger, make future obstacles less stressful and less disappointing, and then make all the wins even sweeter.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Fitz, it's an incredible story. You mentioned that you wrote some books,
Yeah.
right? Can you tell us more about your books? Because I'm sure like many people are interested to learn more about this journey. And how was it for you?
Yeah, so it's interesting too. I have a huge readership from Europe, from the Netherlands and Denmark and Poland and Germany. So I know my story is getting out over there, which is pretty fun. So my memoir is My Noisy Cancer Comeback. I don't have that one on my desk, but that's where I get into all the details, the gory details of my story. So if anyone wants to read that, that's a lot of fun. The response I get mostly is people say, I cried a bit, but I laughed a whole lot more. So if you actually want an uplifting, funny, fun cancer story, My Noisy Cancer Comeback. But the things that are most important to me right now are my newer books. So when I was at rock bottom and my mother, bless her heart, at some point she was worried about me losing so much weight. She said, "You need to eat. You look like you're in the Holocaust." And I thought, oh, thanks, Mom. Thanks, Mom. And I did. I was skeletally thin and bald, and it was awful. But when I hit rock bottom, I never doubted that I would rebuild my body and get strong again. I knew I'm a fitness expert. Lucky me, right? I knew exactly what I was going to do to get back to fit and strong, muscular, athletic, vibrant, happy, etc. But at the same time where I was feeling that confidence, I was feeling so sad for my peers, for the millions of cancer patients around the world, cancer patients and survivors that have been brutalized by cancer and its care, and they have no idea. I mean, imagine getting hit by a truck, you're laying out there, and then nobody comes to help. Nobody shows you the path to recovery. And I looked online and there are no resources, or there were no resources. And so I used my lifetime of fitness expertise, my master's degree in exercise and sports sciences, and of course my cancer experience to write the book to help cancer patients go from sick to strong. So this one I'm very passionate about. My goal for this book is to one day have it in the hands, like the second someone gets diagnosed, they're handed this. This is just a complete tool discussing nutrition, exercise, mental health, resiliency, all of the tools you can use to enhance your situation. There's hundreds of photos in here. This is exercises you can do in bed. There's a section on exercising in a chair or stretching in the shower, and then foods that help versus foods that hurt. But hopefully 0% of your listeners have cancer. Albert, what I'm hoping is I know that every last one of them loves or cares about someone with cancer. They can go to Amazon or Barnes and Noble, wherever books are sold, and buy Your Healthy Cancer Comeback for them. And then there's a companion journal, which is full color, full fun. And there's a place for them to put in their cancer details, their diagnosis, the stuff that they need to keep track of. But also journaling is proven to be a form of cathartic practice to help with your mental health. So there's all sorts of prompts, hundreds of prompts from, your support system, your faith, your family, but then a lot of funny stuff. What have you nicknamed your port? What have you nicknamed your tumor? What celebrity do you look like bald? So for me, I apparently look most like, or did look most like crazy Britney Spears. So I would walk around and people were like, you look like crazy Britney Spears. And I'd say, oh, thank you so much. So this is a lot of fun. And the last third of the book is completely dedicated to helping people log their path from sick to strong: exercise, nutrition, hydration, sleep, etc. So they get back to living life fully when they're done with the big C.
Yeah, the books are amazing. And I'm sure, as you said, that like most probably some people are dealing with loved one with cancer, or maybe just awareness, because it's really helpful to know you don't know what time will bring. And yeah, that's definitely helpful. And what I'm excited about the most is how you turned your pain into this success, and how you used this whole suffering and turned it into something really helpful, not only for you, but for the whole world. This is inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you. I felt like if I did not take the knowledge I had and use it to help other people, then I would be a big loser. So, I'm not a big loser. I wrote the books, and oncologists love them. I'm so happy so many oncologists buy them for their patients. So that's telling me that they're the right thing.
Yeah, you definitely did the right thing. And you are changing the world, technically.
Thank you. I'm trying.
Awesome. So yeah, I think we reached the end of our episode, and thank you so much for all this information. That was very helpful and inspiring. Thank you so much, Fitz.
Thank you, Albert. And for all your listeners, I would love it. I'm on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, at Fitzness. I have Fitzness.com, and I would love to hear from them. So don't just follow, say hello, because I would much rather have friends than followers. Thank you so much, Albert.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Fitz.